when you think you have enough, there's already 3 new things where the space is going. You need to be ahead. So I feel like Ann and I are always just like looking for the next thing that we need to layer into the business. And like she said, it's like this living, breathing organism that like once you get one thing set up, you bring in the next and like you plug it into the system and just keep iterating and scaling it.
Hey guys, welcome back to another Foundr interview. Make sure you give us a thumbs up if you enjoy this interview. Today we're speaking to 2 incredibly successful e-commerce founders that have taken their business from $1 million to $50 million a year in just 1 year. It is crazy. So if you want to learn how to build an extremely successful e-commerce brand fast, you need to watch this. So guys, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. The first question that we ask everyone that comes on is, how did you get your job? Okay, how did you find yourself doing the work you're doing today?
Yeah, that's a great start. I mean, I actually was going to, I went to UCLA for college, and I went to do a pre-med degree. I graduated, became a full-time artist for about 4 years, and I was also kind of like a micro influencer because I was also, kind of running my art page and becoming an influencer at the same time. And basically, Kevin had another brand called insert name here, and they were gifting me ponytails, and so they asked me to come and be a model for one of their photo shoots, and it wasn't paid. So initially, I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to go. It's not paid. And then I realized around that time, I was actually wanting to start my own brand because I felt pretty lonely and felt like kind of stuck being an artist because I felt like it wasn't scalable. With going into, entrepreneurship and having a brand, you can replicate the product, you can mass produce a product and sell it. And I felt like my creativity was sort of just, stuck on a canvas, but I couldn't pay someone else to paint it. So that was sort of the reason why I started wanting to start a brand. And so I was actually in product development mode, like had finished product developing my product and everything, was going to start the brand. And then I met Kevin at the photo shoot, and that's sort of when, just after talking for a while, like he was like, oh, I really want to be a part of this. Let's like partner up on Glamnetic. And so that's sort of when we became partners on that. And yeah, that's sort of like the beginner story.
And and I think on my end, I mean, look, I every day I'm like, how did I get here in my current job, right? But it's funny, I feel like when I like backtrack to my career and where I started, it all sort of makes sense and comes together. But I started in the mailroom at the talent agency, WME. It's a huge talent agency in LA. And so I actually started on the entertainment side, and I was working with talent for a long time. And then I got really deep in the influencer space. And then kind of through that, I was managing really, really large digital influencers for a while, and then sort of parlay that into the brand space. And then kind of like Ann mentioned, I co-own 2 other brands in the space, and when we linked up, it was like you kind of, when from a partner perspective, and that's when we partnered up, and that's how I found myself in the job.
Yeah, awesome. So really interesting how you guys both met. This is interesting because oftentimes, usually we're getting pitches from all sorts of PR agencies like a WME. But the way that I was introduced to you guys is through one of my friends, Aman Asadi, and he said, hey Nathan, do you want to speak to Ann and Kevin? Glamnetic is blowing up, like straight off the bat. He said you guys have gone from 0 to $50 million in annual revenue in 1 year. Is that correct?
1 to 50, but close enough. And Armand, he's a great guy. He's a great guy, man. He's a really, really, really smart guy as well. But it was, it was definitely hyper growth. I think, Ann can kind of touch on the beginnings of this story, but the brand launched in 2019, and we did, $1 million the back half of that year. And then last year, in 2020, it went to 50. And so it was, there's a lot of things that have to come into place from, we were layering infrastructure and teams and hiring and a lot of things that last year. But yeah, it was fortunately, it was like hyper growth.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
Sorry, Anne, please go on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just saying it's crazy because I sort of had I never launched a brand before. I've never been an entrepreneur. So like starting a brand was like my first kind of, step into it. And my goal initially was literally to do like 10K a month. That was all I was like, that was like the benchmark, I guess. And when I was like, oh, 10K a month, that sounds like a lot. That's great. And then first month out of the gate, we were doing like 20K a month. And then it was just like doubling every month because of just kind of all the resources and efforts we put in and starting that sort of like marketing machine, turning that on. And then I was sort of like the face of the brand. I did like all the content creative marketing and like all the retention, stuff like that, marketing aspect. And it sort of just kind of got its own legs and became viral. I think the product too was like a genius product, and it lends itself well to really solving a main issue in the beauty industry, which is like lashes are one of the hardest things to apply in the makeup in terms of your makeup routine. And so we're fixing that problem where like majority of girls don't know how to put on lashes, and we're solving that problem, making it so much easier, like a less than 5-minute application. So it just blew up because it just worked really well, and we just made sure like product quality was good. So yeah, it was all of the above.
And I think like obviously with COVID last year was very interesting with particularly with lashes, right? Like when women were wearing masks, well then all of a sudden the eye up became extremely important, which was really an interesting sort of shift in the market. But I think like the other thing that allowed us to scale was, I think to scale a brand to that level today, you have to be really strong at like content, creative, social, influencer, acquisition, and retention, and that entire marketing flywheel. And if like one or two things are off, you stall out on the growth. And so I think like between myself and Anne and then the rest of the team that we assembled, we were pretty good at a lot of those things, which then allowed us to scale the brand.
Yeah, wow. This is crazy because just for context, we speak to a lot of successful founders, but yeah, that kind of growth is pretty insane. Like that's pretty rare. So I'd love to delve a little deeper just around the early conversations. Like, can you talk to us like around the product, around the manufacturing, like the early stages of that? Like, what did that look like?
Yeah, so I had never developed a product before. I literally sort of fully committed to this idea because I had been obsessed with lashes my entire life. When I was younger, I actually immigrated here with my mom from Thailand when I was 7 years old. And so I was the only Asian person at my school, and always feeling like, oh, I didn't really quite fit in. And so once I got into makeup kind of in my adolescent years, I realized like it really helped boost my confidence. And one of the main things was lashes that kind of helped with that. And so I was addicted to lashes. I wore lashes every day of my life. Like I've tried every single type of lash. And I never went outside without wearing lashes. And I kind of saw this like huge wave of like magnetic lashes, this trend kind of happen around magnetic lashes. And then when I tried them, I was really excited about the concept, but it didn't work the way that you think or it didn't work as easily as it should have worked. Like you have to align all the magnets perfectly, and they were the type that sandwich your natural lashes in between. And I was just like, this needs to kind of be rethought. There needs to be of all, the lash style itself is like really thin and plasticky and not flattering. And I always love like lashes that are longer, have more volume. And so I was like, why can't like lashes have more volume, like be more glam, but also be magnetic and also easy to apply? And so I went sort of down this like rabbit hole of like doing research online, like YouTube, Coursera. Like I literally used all the courses online to figure out like how to source product and develop products, how to get in touch with manufacturers. And I got in touch with a bunch of manufacturers, like had like 300 plus conversations, hundreds of samples later, and sort of came up with like the prototype that we had that we launched with, which was literally, I was like, take like a full glam lash and like glue 5 magnets on it. And then the manufacturer was like, we've never done that before. Like, I don't know if we can, we don't have the right glue. Like it was like all the right adhesive that you need to use for it. Like, it was very technical in that sense. And so it was just like a lot of like trial and error to kind of come up with like the final product. So
Yeah,
yeah, it was.
I had 200 WhatsApp conversations going on with manufacturers. It was insane. I mean, I think it was a lot of obviously outreach on her part, just to all the different manufacturers and coordinated with lots of samples back and forth to get this thing into existence.
Yeah, interesting. So, it sounds like you guys didn't just go find because we know that like magnetic eyelashes is a trending product, is a trending category. You didn't just go onto Alibaba, find the best manufacturer you could. You spent a fair amount of time on product development. How long did that take?
It took a year because it was nothing like that was like on Alibaba or anything like in terms of like magnetic lashes that were glam and had like magnets, like multiple, more than three on the magnet. So it was something that I had to like find out. And a lot of them were all like really thin and like plastic looking. I don't know why that was the case. I just never progressed to that like the next level. And so I was like, I saw that line of like the lash styles going into the next level of like looking like a full normal strip lash, like the type I used to like wear all the time. So I was just like confused why that wasn't out on the market and was like actually really surprised. And so I think that's why when like, we came out with that, we came out with 5 styles initially that were like pretty glam, and people were like shocked. They were like, wow, and it actually works, And so it was, I think that was sort of like when I was like, oh, wow, this thing has legs. Let's like keep launching more styles. Let's keep, like, and so it's just sort of keep feeding the momentum. I was like so scared that it was like, this is going to end tomorrow. Cause I was like, this is crazy that this is happening. Like you could just think that as a founder, like when you start getting momentum, it's kind of like you have to keep like working 24/7 to keep it going.
I think the other thing that really lent itself well to the product development process was like Anne's artistic background. So, I think Anne being an artist really was like a big benefit because she took the best of being an artist and like creating something and threw that into like creating product. And so I think what came out was like a much higher quality, unique, innovative product in the market that had not been on the market before. And I think you have to lead with a solid product if you want to get to scale. And so I think that really helped us in the beginning was the sort of the artistic background coming full circle.
I see. So I'm curious, let's like really go back to the timeline just to give people context, because I think sometimes when they look at starting a business, they wouldn't even think that you'd spend a year on product development. So is that what you guys were doing in 2018, just pure product development, and then you launched 2019?
Actually, before it was like 2017, like end of 2017, I was like working on it. And then I met Kevin like probably late 2000, like in 2019. So it was like I was working on it for a while. And then also the website development just took way longer than it should have because it was like a try. I went on Upwork and got, all my developers from Upwork. They're like from India, like $3 an hour. Like I had this guy from the Philippines, like $3 an hour. And just, it was a lot of trial and error because like then the code that they were doing was like so clunky, and then like website's clunky. And then like, you don't know that, right? When you're first starting off, you have no idea like what that even means, like to have clunky code if you never coded. And then, like trying to get inspo for like what the branding should look like going through like different, like it wasn't perfect, from the beginning. I think I had an idea of like what I wanted everything to look like. And then when the developer finished, I was like, oh, that's not what I want it to look like. And so we had to redo everything. So it was just a lot of like going back to the website itself took 6 months, which is probably way longer than it should take. But, that's just one of the things, like it's like a trial and error sort of thing. If you're just starting a brand, like you don't know what you're doing, and that's totally fine. Like, I think it's really important to go through that so going forward what should be actually like happening.
I think even being like super scrappy in the beginning on like product shots, right? Like I remember Anne was shooting these product shots in her like apartment at Koreatown in the time, and like she like found models on Bumble, like BFF, and like had free models from Bumble, and then like actually had her like shoe boxes in the apartment. Up with the background.
I fully committed to myself and told myself, because I was an artist, that I would never spend money on content, which is a lot to commit to as a brand owner. I'm sure a lot of brand owners are like definitely spending money on at least like a little bit of the content, but I was like $0 will be spent on content. Like I literally would for set design, I went to go to the dollar store to get like all of my set like stuff.
Yes.
And I was like teaching myself photography like through YouTube, and like borrowing my friends' studios, like asking like her friends who are models to model for me for free. And the pictures actually turned out amazing. Like they looked like editorial style because I would just like put so much effort into it. And then same with product shots, like all of the stuff that we posted on Instagram, which I committed to posting like 2 times a day, like daily. And I'm just by myself, like I'm like like the only person doing content. And also on stories, like I'm on stories 24/7, like talking about my story, like people are following along, watching my stories as the brand was building. Even to this day, there are members that still remember like me starting the brand from the beginning. They actually have been following the journey the entire time, and they're just like, it's actually so crazy because I've been following you guys the whole time since you began, and I knew you were gonna blow up. So I was just like, that's crazy that all these people had so much faith in me before anything ever happened. Like literally, like one of the first ladies that made a purchase, I still remember her because we did $1,000 the first day that we launched. And I was so excited because I was like, oh my God, that's so much money, like for one day of sales, like literally sitting there, like waiting for the Shopify notification to go off. And I'm like DMing customers to like get sales so I can get more sales because I like had like 10 dings, 10 Shopify notifications go off. And I thought that was like a lot, right? And one of the ladies was like, posted on Instagram this super long post and a selfie with her and Eyelashes, and she was like, this brand, I mark my words, they're gonna pop off, like they're gonna be super successful. Like I know a good quality brand when I see one. Like I've tried all these other magnetic lashes, they don't work. Glamnetic works. Like this is gonna be like she just like went off on this long paragraph. I still remember it because it was like the first week after we launched, and yeah, she posted a selfie with like the purchase. And you remember every customer when you first start, like the first month, you're like, you remember literally everyone. And because you like were talking, I was customer service, I was like talking to them like orders missing, and I'm like freaking out because it's like 3 orders missing, and so now at the scale that we're at, it's like it's like crazy to think about.
I was gonna say, I think there's 2 things Anne said that I think if someone's like an early founder that are super important. Like one is, if you are willing to put yourself out there, I think Anne putting herself out there behind the scenes on Instagram stories and like speaking on behalf of the brand and showing the behind the scenes is like, one, a great way just to get content, because you're content deficient when you're early. Like you need as much content as you can get. So like Anne putting herself out there behind the scenes of the brand was super important. And I think the second is it builds a great connection with the audience. And then I think the other point she mentioned, which was super important for us, was like being on the ground from a customer service perspective. And like, as the founder in the beginning, you should be answering every DMing every customer that follows you, because that's a potential sale, right? And like, if anything, even if you don't get the sale, you're, conversing with them and understanding more about like what people want, and then you can make iterations and changes. And so those were some like really low hanging fruit in the beginning that like any founder could do if they chose to.
Yeah, no, I love that. Paul Graham, one of the founders of Y Combinator, he talks about doing things that don't scale in the early days. Yeah, no, that's really valuable. I agree 110%. So just to round that out, it sounds like it took you guys like a year and a half to launch. What did the pre-launch look like? Like, talk to me around influencers. It sounds like, Anne, you maybe had some friends that have helped you out, but what was the MOQ? How many did you order? And then also, and how many SKUs? It sounds like you said you launched with 3 SKUs. Five.
5 lashes, and then like 2 types of magnetic eyeliner, and then like 4 different accessories.
Yeah, wow. Okay, yeah. So decent size range, not just one product, one SKU.
Right, but the MOQ, I mean, I ordered like the minimum because I wasn't sure if anything was gonna work. I didn't want to invest too much money. I wanted to be smart about it. And lashes are, the cost of goods of lashes, thankfully, is really cheap. So I was able to like invest like fully my own money in that, and it was like probably $5,000 to $8,000.
Yep.
Initially. And then basically like, I was like, okay, like let's sell this out and then like we can reorder again. But we sold out so fast that I was like, oh shoot, I should have reordered. You just learn that. You're like, oh, I should have reordered as it was about to sell out, and then like now I'm freaking out that it's sold out, which was a good problem to have. But demand planning was definitely not it in the beginning. It was like me eyeballing, like looking to see like how much we had left, and like thinking that I needed to buy just through feeling.
For like 9 months, we were in the cycle of just airing everything over as quick as possible. And like, there wasn't even that idea of putting anything on the boat because we just couldn't get things made and, you know, scaled up quick enough. And I think like pre-launch, I mean, I think the big thing again was like, and you know, and you can speak more to this, but like getting all the content ready and in place, and like leaning heavy into social, leaning heavy into community and the community side.
Well,
And then
I didn't even know. Okay, like launch for me was kind of a joke, like because there was just not that many followers on the actual page. Like there was just not that. I was like, this is not going to get much attention. Like we're not big at all. No one knows us. Like let's just get it out there, and then I can start like building. And so that was my mentality, you know, early on. But I did put a lot of resources in terms of like on my own personal Instagram page. Maybe I had like 30,000 followers, like not anything crazy. And I felt like it was like a very 50-50 like male female split. But like I wasn't like a big influencer or anything, but I was trying to push like all of my followers into like the Glamnetic page. I was like posting memes so I can get more virality, the organic virality there, and then like deleting the memes afterwards. But like just trying to do different strategies to like try to grow the page organically. And so I was actually, that's why I was so surprised that actually 10 people bought the first day. You know, I was like, whoa, like that's crazy. And so I didn't really think about much about like, okay, like out of the gate, it's going to be a success. I knew that it was going to be a grind because I just knew that I didn't have a big audience in the beginning. And so I didn't put a lot of pressure on myself to like make launch perfect. I was sort of like, let's just get it out and just say it's launched. So then I can start the sales. Like at least Shopify can start getting money. And so that's the mentality. And then I was like, okay, let's grind it out and like, let's like keep posting on stories every day. Let's keep like outreaching to people. And so like I get followers. Let's start turning on ads, you know, like doing all those things that you're supposed to do, like collecting email addresses. Like I was sort of like reading about like the things we should be doing as a brand. And then, but once we started really getting ads going, like, and getting like gifting on influencer side going, like that was when we started really seeing like the snowball effects of the growth.
Yeah, and I think even in the beginning, right, again, like, and anyone can do this, is like religiously DMing every single customer. And then we turned DM into a sales prospecting channel, right? Because in theory, if someone is following you, that's a warm lead. If you DM them, it becomes even warmer. And then you converse and can actually assist and then close via DM. And that's like low-hanging fruit that doesn't cost any acquisition costs. And then we started to layer in like all of the, you know, the ads that Ann mentioned, and like Foundr first ad, because we didn't have anyone else to shoot content, and shooting the content as the Foundr first, right? Those worked really, really well for us. And then we sort of then moved into gifting. And then obviously now we've got much more built out teams across the board, but like that was really the like the early days.
Yeah, no, interesting. So, I'm curious, for anyone watching this right now, you guys entered a crowded market, right, with a lot of competition. What advice, and I'd love to hear from both of you, Kevin and Ann, what advice would you give to someone that is looking to enter a market that is very crowded?
I think you have to figure out what is your actual selling point that is going to differentiate yourself like from that other competitor. Because I think for us, the main distinction between us and other lash brands was the innovation behind the lashes, where the liner's magnetic and the lash is magnetized to the liner. Like that part was like the mind-blowing part that people, every time that I showed or talked about that, people were like mind blown, right? And you kind of need to have that like product that blows people's minds. We're like, oh my God, like that shock and wow factor of like, holy crap, like I need that in my life. If you can kind of translate that across, like even if you have a service, you know, like how are you so mind-blowingly better than the service like next to you? Like what is that distinctive quality that you have that other people don't? And as even like people, you know, kind of enter our specific space, you know, what really distinguishes us is like the amount of lashes that we have. Like we have almost 100 lashes now, which is crazy because that's like basically the most amount of magnetic lashes on the market, like in terms of like compared to other companies out there. And not only that, like the quality of lashes is really high. You know, our liner quality and the hold power is like is way better than any out there. And the branding and the community, which is proprietary to that brand, is really, really strong. And that comes from just constant nurturing. So like me being like sort of showing my face every single day and like having that presence, kind of like Huda, right? Like I'm just like always being out there and talking to the audience so that they get to know you and your story, and then you're communicating back to them. It's a lot of effort. Like we literally have like a team just around, you know, like retention and loyalty and community. So it's all like super important to have.
And I was going to say, to kind of echo Anne's point, like you obviously have to lead with a unique value proposition, but before that, you just need to know that it's really, really hard and it's going to be a grind. Like none of this is easy. And if you're thinking that you're going to enter a category that's crowded, you should know going in, even if you have a unique value prop and a differentiator, you're becoming an entrepreneur and it's really, really hard, right? So be mentally prepared for that. And then on top of like the unique value prop, that community brand piece is what makes it bigger than the product and turns it into a brand, right? And so you got to have high quality product, and then you have to have the community to run in lockstep, because that's the other differentiating factor, where if there's a lash brand on Amazon, no one's tagging Amazon and Instagram, right? They're tagging Glamnetic. And so like you need to really differentiate through community to build, to lean heavy into a market that's saturated.
And timing, I think, is super important, is another thing that is overlooked. I think like timing for me was perfect. Like going into the market, the way the timing that we did, like right after like sort of like the sandwiching type of magnetic lashes were like kind of phasing out. And I realized like that was a genius idea, like the idea of using magnets as a way to apply lashes, but it just wasn't executed properly. And so like seeing really that gap is really important. So if you have like a discerning eye around like the market that you're going to enter into and seeing like the opportunity there, then, you know, that's going to be huge. Like Figs, for example, with like the scrubs, like they saw there was no brand, like big brand around scrubs that were like actually like fashionable, or like they kind of rethought, you know, like scrubs and made it like, you know, modern. So like just thinking like really what is the gap there that's not there, and then how can you execute in a high quality way. Execution is key though, because everyone can have an idea, but execution is like a whole nother thing. Like it's so easy to like have an idea, to like hear someone else's idea and be like, okay, oh, I like that idea, like let me try to, you know, but no, like execution is like everything, right? Because that's what you're spending all of your time and years doing.
The gap in the market and the timing thing is really important, to Anne's point too. Like even in a saturated market, there's always a gap. It just might be a small one and you have to find it. So it's not going to become easy. You're going to have to really, really look to figure out how, you can find that way into a tough market.
Yeah, I see. I'm curious as well, like, what are common mistakes that you see new e-commerce founders make? And what do you think separates them from, like, success?
Thinking everything needs to be perfect, right? Like you just got to get the thing launched and go and iterate from there. Like you can't make it too perfect. And so I'd say that would be like the number one thing is just get the thing up and running, get it launched, see the response, take feedback, test, and then go. But if you're always trying to like wait until it's perfect, it's never going to launch and you're never going to be able to, get something to market.
I think another point to add on to that is I think a lot of new business owners don't know how to optimize or how to A/B test, like how to make what you have better, because that's kind of like the game in e-commerce. I mean, in any business, right? Is like continually optimizing everything. Like every single aspect of your business can be optimized and continually improving. Like our website is always an never ending project of optimization, right? So in every aspect, right? Not even just that, it's like email marketing, like SMS marketing, like it always could be better. And that's how I always see every channel that we lean into. And I think that's why we have grown so quickly, is because like Kevin and I are both like really obsessed with improving every channel, and like how can we be better at that? How can we make this culture, how can we make our culture better? Like, how do we improve our employees? How do we provide them more resources and training? Like just like always thinking about that, because your competition probably isn't thinking about that. Like if someone's obsessed with that 24/7, like you're gonna improve, like, right, even 1% improvement each day compounds at 365%, the whole entire year. That's a lot, right? That's a lot of compounding. So like really using the law of compounding, and especially when you have more employees, like if each person improves like 1%, it's like 70%, right? So it's like it just keeps adding and adding and adding. But that's only if you have the idea that you always want to improve. A lot of people just don't have that mentality.
I think too, right? Like I think another mistake, a common mistake would be like, it's easier than ever to start a brand. It's harder than ever to scale it, right? And so like everyone's like, I want to own a brand, and it's cool and it's fun. Like there's a lot of really fun things with it. There's also a lot of really hard things. And so, if you go into it thinking it's going to be this laid back thing, and it's like, I'm just going to drop ship, do whatever, like it just, that's like a big mistake. It's going to be a grind, and like you have to actually work really, really hard to make this happen. And so just like having the right mindset, I think is the other big piece of it, because you get what you put into it.
Yeah. No.
And I think one thing I wanted to add was it's really easy to make money like doing anything if you think about it. Like there's so many ways to make money online nowadays, but one of the things, kind of the litmus test that I use on like if you're going to be successful at that thing is like do you feel like when you go to work every day, do you want to keep working the whole time and never stop working? Like for me, it was like I kept finding excuses to not stop working. Like I always wanted to work. Like if someone was like, you want to go to lunch? I'm like, no, I like want to work. Like that was when I realized, oh shit, like things have changed. Because when I was an artist, I was finding every excuse not to paint. And then when I turned into an entrepreneur and like started my brand, I was like finding every excuse to like not stop working. And that was when I was like, oh, like this is like, I knew that it was going to be successful because I was just so like crazy passionate about it. I felt like I was literally going to die for the business, and like, I'd be cool with that. Like that was like crazy to me that was like, I was like in love with the business, and I like never been in love like that in ever. So it was just like crazy to have that mentality shift and like to recognize that in myself. And I think when you feel it, you like feel it. And so like I wouldn't stop until you like kind of find that one thing that makes you feel like alive when you're doing it, because that's really gonna sort of make you like an anomaly in terms of like success.
So the next question I have for you guys is like, let's talk about channels. Like what is working right now? It's June 2021. We've got things happening with Facebook ads, with the iOS update. Like what channels are working for you across organic, YouTube ads, Facebook ads, influencers, Instagram, Facebook? Like what is working for you guys right now?
Everything and all, we're constantly, we've got all the usual suspects down, right? So we're obviously at scale on Facebook and Instagram, and every brand's working through the iOS updates. We're running YouTube. We're getting better at the YouTube content we've got. We've got Google, we've got Snap, we've got TikTok. I think the issues with Snap and TikTok is it's hard to get scale like you get on the other platforms, right? So, you need at our scale, you sort of need to be everywhere. We're doing, there's direct mail, we've done some outdoor campaigns. We work heavily with influencers, from an entire gifting perspective, from ones that make sense from a paid partnership perspective. We obviously email, SMS, Messenger. You literally have to have everything at this scale and then like when you think you have enough, there's already 3 new things where the space is going. You need to be ahead. So I feel like Ann and I are always just like looking for the next thing that we need to layer into the business. And like she said, it's like this living, breathing organism that like once you get one thing set up, you bring in the next, and like you plug it into the system and just keep iterating and scaling it.
Yeah, there's definitely not one secret like winner channel out there. I think that's a mentality probably back in like early 2000s. Probably not now, because in 2021 the competition has just gotten, the market's gotten saturated, right? You see that in like the increase in CPMs. Like now all the advertisers after quarantine is over and COVID kind of ended, like all of these new brands are going up and like starting to market, and so like CPMs are going up. Like you're seeing that across everything, like in Facebook and Instagram and even TikTok. Like every channel has gotten saturated, and so you really kind of have to layer in a little bit of everything to give yourself that incremental revenue, because it just takes, it literally takes it all. It takes all of it to kind of getting, but there's not one channel that's like, oh, this is giving me like 50% of my revenue anymore, at least.
There's also like the little things that add up, right? So here's what I consider a little thing. We have a filter on Instagram, a try-on lash filter, right?
Yep.
And that doesn't necessarily equate to direct sales, but it's an assist to someone that comes into our acquisition funnel, you know, and other than price, which is always the number one barrier to entry for any brand, right? Like, well, is it going to look good on me for a beauty product is probably the next one, right? So how can you layer in 10 different types of those things that add up to one really large thing that assist in the conversion process are all really, really important things that we're always trying to be ahead on.
Yeah, like I think it, like Kevin said, like ecosystem is a good word. Like how do you, like you sort of think of your brand as like an ecosystem, like how do you add more animals to that ecosystem to kind of assist in like the revenue growth, right? So that's kind of the way we see it versus like one big animal making up most of the ecosystem.
I also think the interesting thing I've seen in this space, right, is there's some founders and brands, they're really, really good at direct response, but they lack any like brand or community, right? And then on the other side of the spectrum, you've got people that are really, really good at social and brand and community and literally have no idea how to run ads or like direct response or copyright or anything. So how do you merge those two worlds together and like create that perfect cohesiveness between the two worlds? And I think like that's what we're always trying to do.
So I got a follow-up question for you guys, because you're starting to paint a very clear picture to me how you've been able to rapidly grow. Even just from the infrastructure standpoint, you're both very, very smart, really understand the space. I can see you really complement each other, and you're really, really strong on obviously the product side, really working on the content and the creative. And it seems like, Kevin, you're really good on the some of the marketing operations, the scale, and yeah, all that. And I can see how you guys are a really strong team, but then also you're both obsessed with the brand and you're extremely aggressive, right? Like you like the level of aggression that it appears that you guys are attacking this market is really impressive. So for anyone watching though, you guys have obviously got an omni-channel approach, right? Like you're trying every channel and you seem to just kind of work it out. Once it's working, then you're going to like obviously bring team on it. I'd love to hear because focus is key. And for many people watching this, they spread themselves too thin and they're watching, someone's talking about YouTube ads, then someone's talking about Facebook ads, and someone's talking about Pinterest organic. And like, it's very difficult to know like what channel should you start with, or what is the process to know when you move on to the next channel? So I'd love to hear your guys' take around what does the process look like? Like, let's just say right now, direct mail, fascinating one. You obviously, Kevin, you said, I'm assuming because you're the direct response guy, you said, let's try direct mail. What does that testing phase look like? And when do you go off it, bring in team or like hand it over? Like talk us through when you guys look to attack a channel and go, yep, this one's got legs. We're going to add it to our ecosystem of everything we're doing. Can you talk us through that?
For sure. And I think we're still getting better at how we analyze this, but we really took a step back and we're looking at it and saying, okay, here's a new channel. And we have like a checklist. Like one is how much scale does it give us in success? 2 is how much does it cost like to test? The third is like how easy it is for us to get a test up, like how much time is it? And then let's say the 4th is like maintenance and team member time over time, right? And there's like a couple other things we look at. And if you look at it from that lens and analyze it, then you're like, okay, this can get us to medium to high scale if successful. It's low to medium cost to test, and it takes low to medium time. Then it's like, let's take a crack at that and test it and figure out a quick test, figure out how we measure it. And then if it works, scale it. If it doesn't, cool. Maybe we try it one more time and then we kill it, right? But if we see something that's like, low scale, lots of effort, doesn't do other things, maybe like build brand or community or something like indirect, then we're like, probably not the test right now for us to take. And we sort of punt on it for later down the road. And, we try to always sort of analyze things, that way, to get a read on whether it's worth testing or not.
And who owns going out and finding new channels? Is it you? Is it Anne? Is it your head of growth? Like who owns that?
It's really a mix of like a few people in the company. I mean, I think one thing we've tried to do is empower people, and we give lots of people a ton of autonomy. We let people know that it's okay to make mistakes. Like, hopefully we limit big mistakes, but like, it's okay to make mistakes. And then like, anyone that has a good idea on the team can bring it in. There's a lot that obviously comes inbound now I feel like there's 80 million new services a day that come, and some of them are good and some of them aren't. And then some of it's we're bringing it in, and the others it's our head of growth or our marketing manager, or even like an intern that has a great idea. And we'll listen to anything. I think you have to be open.
And I get so much like inbound emails from like services and you name it, like so much. And so like, I'll actually go through and see like what service is actually worth exploring. And that's kind of how we do also get a lot of the services, just like that inbound email. And then the Shopify Plus like newsletter is great as well.
This is the other really, really hard thing about being a brand founder today is there's so many choices in the Shopify economy. It's like, what do you do, right? And you kind of got to have the basics down, right? Email, SMS, like the basics, but then there's like 50 other potential plugins or things that you could have. And then they all look the same and there's 5 competitors of each, right? And so it's a lot of just like constant assessment. And then I would suggest talking to other really smart, founders that you may in your network or through blogs or whatever it may be, to sort of try to help get an assist to come to those answers.
This has been a great interview, guys. You guys have been like so open, so giving. So thank you. We have to work towards wrapping up. I'd be foolish not to just touch a little bit more on just breaking down any experiences that you could share that you think are valuable to our audience around scale. So if somebody's watching this right now and they are doing $100,000 a year for their e-commerce brand, direct to consumer, let's just say direct to consumer, they're doing $100,000 a year and they want to go to 50 million a year, like insane growth. You've kind of painted a little bit of a picture, but what would you guys prescribe to that person if there was one area of focus?
I think first of all, if you are like using all of these channels that we're doing, I guess I would look at that first, like see what channels you can actually like run ads through. I would try that. Like Instagram and Facebook will probably be the start because they have the most sophisticated tools. If you're already running through that and not seeing success, then look at your product and see what's wrong with it. Because I think a lot of people kind of like expect success overnight without actually making sure that the product that they have is amazing. And so like try to understand like in your marketing messages, like are you actually getting across the idea through an ad or through an influencer that this product has any special use case that like other products don't, or like what is that special offering that you have that other people don't. So like if you get that clearly across, theoretically you should be able to scale to some level like way above 100K. I would say start there.
And I think like, to Anne's point, again, obviously, you have to be a marketer to sell products. You have to have your marketing down. And then I think just making sure that like you have the other side of the house, like prepared, right? So like if you're going to scale, you should make sure that you have your supply chain, in check and like organized, and like you've got the ops piece of the business. It's never going to be perfect. I mean, we were like airing stuff in and it was crazy, man. It was like wild when you're scaling that quickly, but like you need to at least have a decent foundation to start to build on. And then the other thing is when you start to hire employees, right? Really particularly if you've never managed people before, you have to quickly learn how to become a very good manager. And it requires being like very, direct with people, but also like nurturing and, team building, and like the culture starts to become important, and people need to buy into a collective mission. So being very clear with the direction you want to take the brand, and not, like, to your point earlier of not being unfocused. You know, you need to apply a really high level of focus and get the entire team to buy into that if you actually want to scale that quickly.
Awesome. Well, look, we'll work towards wrapping up. We've got one last section, which is what we call the hot seat round. So I'm going to ask you guys 4 rapid fire questions, ideally 30-second answers. What's a recent brand that you've seen where you've gone, I wish I made that?
I saw one, Passion footwear. I was like, wow. So it's like a heel. It's basically a heel that turns into a flat. So you just take off the heel and then it converts into a flat. And I was like, wow, that's genius. But yeah, she was like gifting me, and I was talking to her on DM, and I was like, amazing. They were on Shark Tank. So I was like, that's really genius.
That's a good one. Man, I feel like I have so many. One of my buddies is the founder of Brewmate. It's like drinkware, and he scaled that thing like 100. I don't know what they're going to do in revenue this year, 9 figures in revenue. And I think he did a great job on just like the entire brand, and it's awesome. So I wish I would have started that. And Figs too. Ann mentioned Figs earlier. Crowded market in medical apparel, made it cool. Awesome brand.
What's one trait you believe every entrepreneur needs to find success?
Mental toughness. I think that you have to be. My dad's a sports psychologist, so I think that subconsciously helped me a lot growing up. But you know, it's up, down, good days, bad days. You have to be mentally prepared and have mental toughness in order to succeed.
And like I mentioned earlier, passion, because without passion, you're not going to care about mental toughness. You're not going to care about even trying to improve. Like, it's just, everything kind of falls to the wayside without passion.
Awesome. What's one thing that you think most people misunderstand when it comes to starting an e-commerce brand?
I think they just think it's going to be easy. That it basically, like, right after, like, basically at launch, it's going to be successful, and then and then basically they just stop working after that. I don't think they understand that it's actually a constant everyday grind in order to grow, and that you actually are dedicating your entire life to it. Like, I literally had 0 balance in my life when I first started, and it was basically like 100% of my time was dedicated to Glamnetic, and I don't think people maybe have that mentality when they're actually starting.
Yeah, and I think for me, it would be how important numbers can become. Like in the beginning, it's like, oh, you're ordering 500 units and it costs this, right? And it, you know, you make it for this, but like, you know, all of a sudden you start ordering 500,000 units, 1,000,000 units, and like, you know, your margins and like the, you know, the way you negotiate your vendor deals, and like, you know, there's 2 ways to make money in e-commerce. There's make more revenue, and then there's keep costs low, right? And so it's really, I think people underestimate how important that side of the business is.
Last question. If you could have dinner with any entrepreneur, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Kevin already knows who I'm going to say. I would say Elon Musk, obviously. It's just, I mean, I think like his vision, he's like such a visionary, and like kind of thinks of things way further ahead than anyone else thinks, just by like logic and sheer, just like, oh, this makes sense to do, and then he like does it even though no one else has done it. And so, and then he sticks to his belief 100%, like, and will die and go to his grave for it. I love that mentality, and agree with it as well. It's kind of like one of the mentalities I try to strive for when I'm running my brand.
I think Ann's SpaceX, and I'm like Blue Origin. I'm gonna say Jeff Bezos. Like, I just think obviously it's an insane like monster that he's created it. And for me, I've always like just really looked up to everything he's done. So I think that's where it's funny that this answer sums up like Ann and I, and like our partnership, and like how we sort of think slightly differently but similar. So for me, it's Jeff Bezos.
I mean, I love Jeff too. I love like watching him speak. It's just, he's like so astute, and the way that he explains things just makes you like more passionate about that one thing, because he's just so passionate about whatever he's talking about. Like he built that thing from the ground up. It's actually crazy.
Yeah, no, look, I can see how you guys are a really good team. That's very, very clear to me now. So look, thank you so much. We'll wrap there, but thank you so much for your time. This was an incredible interview, extremely valuable. It's going to help a lot of people. And yeah, thank you so much for just taking the time to share your experiences, lessons learned, and congratulations on all of your success thus far. I look forward to following both of your journeys. And yeah, our team will be in touch when this goes live soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Nathan.
Awesome. Thanks, Nathan. So fun.
Thanks so much, guys. You're amazing. All right. Hope you have a good day. We'll let you go and speak soon. Hey guys, hope you're loving our videos and that you're getting heaps of value from them. If you are, make sure to hit the like button and make sure to subscribe to join the Foundr fam. If you did enjoy this video and want to continue to master your skills, make sure you click here to access your free training now, where we'll go into way more depth with this Foundr.